Off the Ball.
Thanks to ScrewFix.ie, championing the trade with a dedicated call centre.
This is News Talk.
Hello, you're welcome along to Wednesday's Off the Ball. It's Wednesday, it's World Cup Eve, and Spanish football has gone a little bit crazy. Their manager sacked 48 hours before their first World Cup game. We're going to talk to Guillaume Balaguer, who's in Moscow. We will also go to Andy Mitten on the football show in Barcelona, where the country has come to a bit of a standstill. I wonder, do they even care in Barcelona, might be the question. Plus, Kevin Goblan has landed in Moscow as well. So excitement is reaching fever pitch here. And of course, there's Wednesday night rugby. We have Andy Dunn and Keith Wood as Ireland look to equal the series against Australia this Saturday. And John Gonzalez from The Ringer will join us as well. Always an excellent guest on the Warriors, maybe not getting the credit for their brilliance that they really do deserve. And where next for LeBron? That is all on the way. Text numbers 53106. We're on Twitter at Off the Ball. Richie McCormick is here. Hello.
How are you, Joe?
And Johnny Ward is here. Hello, Johnny.
How are you getting on, Joe?
Last time me and you were in a studio together, we had David McWilliams for company. Tonight we have Richie.
I'm equal to McWilliams, I'll have you know.
Graham Burke has just signed for Preston.
Sorry?
Graham Burke has just signed for Preston.
I do the news bit.
Sorry about that.
Jesus.
Was that part of your news roundup?
No, but it was gonna be because of Twitter open in front of me, so it's fine.
3 minutes old. Big blow for Rovers.
Do you want me to do the McWilliams impression?
Go on.
And I can just be like, well, Joe, what we've seen here is the improvement of the League of Ireland. That's going to be the extent of it.
Going to come to a game, actually.
That was the interesting thing at a Sunday. I won't lie, Richie. I was sitting here as we were about to do the papers.
You were just delighted that I wasn't here.
Well, that. But I was thinking, how will Johnny Ward and David McWilliams get on?
Famous.
I just don't feel like they mix in the same circles. But will it be a meeting of minds, or will it be an oil and water type thing? And by the end of the day, they're planning to go to Dalymount together. They're best buds.
We'd agreed that before we even went on air.
Excellent choice of ground as well, I might add.
Yeah, I thought he was a gentleman, I have to say.
Great company, endlessly interesting.
He doesn't impose his intellectual superiority on you.
Not like Joe.
Because it's so obvious to everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like a massive man. He doesn't need to point out that he's bigger than people.
But he remembered my name straight away, and he kept calling me like Johnny, and I think that's what measures him, because a lot of people just they've no interest in you straight away, and they wouldn't even, but he just had a great manner about him, I thought.
No, he does he's a very charming man.
Very charming, yeah.
You don't meet many genuinely charming people, do you? Really. I wouldn't say many people I know are charming, but Dave McWilliams is.
We might even go to the Dalkey Book Festival. He made that much of an impression.
I was there a couple of years ago. Simon Cooper was there, and he was brilliant. And the Dalkey Book Festival, I don't know what it's like now. It seems like the thing's gone nuts. 14,000 tickets?
Yeah.
14,000 tickets?
That's like an actual festival.
Yeah, but a couple of years ago, I think it was in its first or second year, and it was a beautiful sunny day. I don't spend much time in Dalkey, but gorgeous village. And they just had in all different houses, the gardens, these kind of marquees and tents that you would go into, and there's someone brilliant speaking, and there's a crowd of people gathered and having some tea or
would you like to live in Dalkey?
Frappuccino or whatever. Yeah, it struck me as very nice. Yeah,
give him a couple more years presenting the Six Nations and he'd be there.
I didn't know too much about it. I don't think I'd ever been in Dalkey before, actually.
It's a remarkable place, really. It's just another world.
When you say remarkable,
it's just, I suppose, I spent most of my Dublin life I went to college in DCU, so I lived around that area.
Yeah.
And then kind of Dublin 8 for the rest of my time there. And Kilmainham, Inchicore, Rialto in general, none compares to Dalkey. It's just you could see why, I suppose, back in the day it would have been a place where I suppose in British rule it probably would have been a really popular place with the aristocrats and the people who had money. It's just beautiful by the water there.
Yeah. I'm a Dublin 8 man like yourself, Johnny.
Dublin 8 has its charms.
It really does.
Yeah. I saw an apartment, one bed apartment advertised in Dublin 8 recently for 550 grand. A one bed.
What?
I was like, come here.
I know. We are teetering, I feel. I feel we're teetering again. I feel like some mistakes are being made all over again.
There is, bless them, and it's usually Kelly Early that does them over in Daily Edge, compiles the one-bedroom studio apartments that are up for rent in Daft. They are just appalling. The prices compared to what you get. We've got a wonderful view of your kitchen sink from your bed, which is actually also a couch. Those kind of things for 1,200 quid a month.
Was there anything redeeming about this one-bed apartment in Dublin 8 that cost 550 grand?
Obviously, the interior was amazing. It was a beautiful apartment, and it was a big one-bed apartment. I think was kind of Portobello direction, which would be the upper end of Dublin 8. I on the other hand, live in Fatima.
Yeah.
But it's an up-and-coming area.
So I hear.
But no, it was a lovely apartment. How could you justify spending 550 grand on a one-bed?
I don't know. I do feel like the person who buys it would be on prime time in 10 years saying, in fairness, it was a big one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, it was a very big...
My life is ruined, but it was a big one-bed apartment.
The Sunday Business Post had an article recently about David Drum. I think it was on Sunday.
Careful.
And, well, it was basically saying, why hasn't... I don't like the need, you feel the need to say that.
Johnny, I trust you as far as I can throw you.
Right, but they were like, why hasn't there been more...
like you should have, we just didn't plan for a David Drum chat.
Okay, so anyway...
And here we are. And we're live on air.
There was a little comment piece, was like, why wasn't there more of this in the media when he was in court the other day? Why wasn't there like more of a public interest in it? Mm-hmm. And I think it's just because in Dublin... we're right back to where we were in terms of the Celtic Tiger. We're just everything's going so well in Dublin that we just don't really care anymore.
I think there's a bit of that, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, Dublin is just absolutely prospering.
It seems that way. It seems like we're not as angry as we were, understandably. We've kind of got over it a bit out of our system. But, yeah. No, do you know, I think we should move on.
Refocus, Joe.
Yeah, I think we should. So, the Spanish story is huge. Like, really, that's what we kind of should be talking about as a sports show, to get this far without talking about it. I mean, okay. It seems Lopetegui was first contacted on Friday by Madrid, said over the weekend, talk to my agent, and by Monday, the agreement was made. For some reason, I don't really know, he didn't tell the Spanish FA until yesterday, 5 minutes before Real Madrid were about to tell the world. And I don't know why Real Madrid had to tell the world and why Lopetegui couldn't say to them, do you know what, let's just hold this a few weeks. It'll make everything much smoother. So there's all of that swirling around. But then you get to the president of the Spanish FA, Rubiales, who played, weirdly, Luis Rubiales played for Hamilton Academical as a player.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's now in the job a month. And probably feels he's looking like a bit of a mug here. But should he fire the manager on the eve of the tournament? Shouldn't he just... take this and say, yeah, we're very disappointed, it's not ideal, but, you know, look, the World Cup comes first and Lopetegui will see this one out. Hasn't he let his emotions get in the way here?
I think it's a slightly tough call. There's a fairly straightforward argument here that if he were left in, the camp is purportedly a bit divided, which the Spanish camp often is, I think, because of club loyalties and so on.
Well, I would say that right now, Piqué is looking beady-eyed over across the room at Ramos and thinking, you knew. You bloody knew. I guarantee you, Perez rang you to see what's Lopetegui like, and you said, yeah, he's good, go get him. I guarantee, I know that happened.
There was apparently a cohort of senior players that were actually okay with Lopetegui continuing on.
Including Ramos.
Including Ramos, but it was David Silva was involved in that as well, and I think there were obviously Barcelona players too that were like saying, listen, it's a month, let's just keep him on board. There's no point in firing a hole in the hull of our boat just because Luis Rubiales is slightly aggrieved enough finding out 10 minutes earlier. Yeah,
we've got Guillaume Balaguer coming up who knows Rubiales, said he's a kind of traditional Spanish macho man, will not like this kind of slight.
And probably has behaved accordingly.
Yeah, you know.
Do you know, the one thing I would say though, I don't think this really matters very much. Like, they'll get through the group, no problems. You know, Herrera will be looked upon with great reverence by a lot of the players anyway. And in terms of whether it'll actually affect how they perform on the pitch, it's questionable if it'll make a huge difference.
I think that's a fair point to make. We don't quite know.
They're almost one of those self-sustaining kind of sides.
Yeah.
You don't want to say it doesn't matter who's in charge, but ultimately they've been together long enough.
They haven't lost under him in 2 years, 20 games. They've drawn 6, won 14. You kind of feel they've got the system down, the plan down. What would have happened over the next 48 hours, not very much. They're kind of together, so I guess we'll see. So we'll start the news now. We're talking with Guillaume Balaguer, 7:30, and Kevin Kilban will join us from Moscow as well. Very exciting, before 8 o'clock, and then we'll get into the rugby. Will one of you...
Both of them or him.
Sorry.
Without wanting to rat.
I also do apologise about the Preston thing, because...
Yeah, Johnny, don't worry about it. I wasn't going to begin with it anyway.
Big news.
Given the way Joe rattles on, we probably won't get to it at 8 o'clock anyway.
The Newsround is brought to you this evening with ScrewFix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. ScrewFix.ie sponsoring the Newsround. It's exciting news. We're glad to have them on board, Richie. Me and you are DIY kings, of course.
I'm not inviting you around to my house anytime soon, Joe. You'll just judge me.
We've done the fact that Hierro has taken over, so that is Spain covered. The other big news in World Cup world today is we know where the next World Cup's going. Not the next one, the one after that.
The one after that, yeah. Mexico is going to become the first country to host the World Cup finals for a third time. Their joint bid with the United States and Canada beat that of Morocco by 134 votes to 65 at today's FIFA Congress. The US will do most of the heavy lifting with the hosting, with 60 of the 80 games played in 10 American venues. Mexico and Canada will each have 3 venues, and New Jersey's MetLife Stadium is poised to host the final itself, with the USA also hosting all games from the quarter-final onwards. MLS Commissioner Dan Garber was part of their party in Moscow today and has been outlining what comes next for that united bid.
To build the sport, to invest more in infrastructure, to develop players that know that they're going to have all the resources necessary to be the best that they possibly can be. And we also have this great thing going on with our 2 neighbors, to be able to, and we have teams in Canada and we have a close relationship with our friends in Mexico. We play Champions League, CONCACAF Champions League games against them every year. This is going to create a soccer region, a soccer nation of 3 countries that's going to be in many ways unprecedented. It's going to boost the sport in our part of the world and prove to everybody we are a football culture.
There we are, so that's where we're going. Gianni Infantino was talking today.
Yeah, also at that Congress, Gianni Infantino says he plans to run for re-election next year. He, of course, took over from Sepp Blatter as head of FIFA in the wake of the corruption allegations of 2016. Infantino says the organisation is in a much better place now with him steering the ship.
And Michael Ryan.
Yeah, he's going to stay on, it seems, him and his management team as Tipperary hurling manager. The county board saying today that his position as manager is not up for discussion despite their early exit from the hurling championship, and they'll be honouring the 3-year deal that only began back in September. As Johnny mentioned, it's 1 Irishman in and 1 out for Cardiff City today. We found out earlier today that Greg Cunningham will be playing Premier League football next season. The Republic of Ireland fullback became Cardiff City's second signing of the summer. He leaves Preston for a fee believed to be in the region of £3.5 million, and just in the past few moments Graham Burke announced as a new signing for Preston, leaving Shamrock Rovers on a 3-year deal he signed at Deepdale.
Good for him, really good guy. We've had him on the show a few times, a really lovely player as well, so it's good to see him getting his career really back on track now with that move. Lads, this Spain drama will help them, mark my words. They'll go on to defy the odds and win this World Cup, says John in Letterkenny. Joe, I had to laugh this morning when halfway through last night's football show on the podcast you were commenting that the World Cup build-off has passed off without incident. I got a notification Spain had sacked their manager. A Saipan-esque shocker with a Spanish twist, says Dinny. A Spain and Barca fan, interestingly. Good man, Dinny. And on house prices, I nearly bought a house in Portobello. Around the time of Italia 90, the cost was 26,000 punts, says Jack in Santry. Which would have gone down, Jack, as a sound investment, I dare say.
It's worth a lot more now anyway. I don't think that'd buy you a door in Portobello now.
Well, anytime I'm kind of looking at houses lately, the baby boomer generation are very fond of telling you what they bought their house for as if it was some genius investment. I bought that house for 60 grand. As if they knew that it was going to turn out to be worth $500,000 or 600 grand. They're just in the luckiest generation of all time ever.
The property I had probably lost 50% of its value at one stage, And
did you buy in the boom times?
Just when it was coming down a little bit, not quite at the boom, but I suppose 90%. It was down a little bit when I bought, and then it crashed.
Right.
So I was like, this happens once in 100 years, and I've been one of the few. But you just get on with it, I suppose.
And do you still have it?
I do, yeah.
And are you back to somewhere close to where you were?
It's about what it was, yeah.
Okay.
But our erstwhile friend Dave McWilliams has proposed that we just turn a lot of the sea into land for development, especially the docklands.
Is that right?
Go Dubai kind of on it.
Yeah, like basically we should they should sell a lot of the docklands area that the government owns, the old port, and just build houses there. It makes a lot of sense, as he always does.
We're one of the few cities, it seems, that kind of turn our back on the lovely bay that we have. You would think it should actually be the most beautiful part of the city with some of the best houses and incredible views, and it's just kind of like, the 3 arenas up there, and then there's Dublin Port somewhere up there, and I'm not sure what the rest of it is.
It's really slick. It's really slick if you go up there now, and there's a lot of development going on.
Yeah, but not like right out. Like
sorry.
So you get up to IFSC territory, the financial district, and then beyond that, it's kind of you get to the 3 arena, and then it's like, I don't know, whatever's going on.
Yeah, it's just kind of a bit of a
But it
waste
should be the best part of the city.
In fairness, though, people have no idea how much of a crisis this is going to be in Dublin. For public service workers to try to actually afford to live in Dublin is becoming next to impossible.
Yeah, I saw.
And but they champion the fact that with this low corporation tax with Google, with Amazon, with Facebook, and all this. Meanwhile, they're paying very little tax, but like they're pricing Dublin out of the public sector workers. Lexicon, it's becoming impossible.
I saw Microsoft there had to rent new office space. There's that chronic shortage, and the percentage of buildings that are completely empty and owned by Dublin City Council are off the charts. What show is this?
David McWilliams has had a profound effect.
He's done Untold. Untold.
And you know what? He's listening in now and he's like, no, they're wrong on that.
They're wrong. They're not quite right on that. Yeah, no, Johnny misunderstood that point.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Mikey Drennan is ending his sabbatical from football to sign for Sligo Rovers. The former Shamrock Rovers and Aston Villa forward took time away from the game in May of 2016 to deal with depression. Drennan said at the time that he wanted to get his life back on track. And Sligo will also hope that Drennan can rediscover his goal-scoring form with the Bitterred just one place above Limerick, who occupy the Premier Division's relegation playoff spot.
Fantastic news. You were mentioning him to me, Johnny, a while back, and hoping that this guy would be back playing football, so it's brilliant to see.
Yeah, I think he was very brave when he revealed his struggle with depression. I don't remember a League of Ireland player being so frank about it before, but I suppose in his case his hand was forced because he actually quit the game. And it's somewhat apt that Graham Burke is mentioned in the Newsround, because Burke and Drennan signed the Rovers a contract at Villa on the same day in 2005. And Burke, obviously, they both ended up back at Shamrock Rovers.
And they would have been part of that really brilliant Villa side that won in Europe.
In the under 23 or whatever it was.
Yeah, like the Junior Champions League version. Yeah.
And so Drennan, obviously, they both ended up back at Rovers. And then while Burke was on the cusp of moving to England, back to England, and having scored for Ireland, Drennan was playing for Evergreen. But I did know that he was in talks with a few managers, and I think Rovers might look back on it and say, did we give him enough support? Maybe they didn't understand it maybe enough the time, but Ger Little is a great guy, and they could really help each other here, because Sligo Rovers have a dreadful record with goals. But it's not going to be easy for Mikey Drennan. He's been out of fresh football. People who treat the League of Ireland lightly and think, I'll be able to walk back into that, it's not like that at all. Even it's so physical and so fast.
There are some already at Sligo who've kind of had that attitude,
yeah.
I think, so far in the season, and it hasn't worked out well for them at all.
If you ask any League of Ireland player who's come from England, Conor Clifford in particular, he said the pre-season we had at Dundalk when I signed for them was the hardest pre-season I've ever had. And bear in mind, Conor had several years at Chelsea. So it's very, very, like, the bar is set high physically, and it'll be hard for Drennan, but everyone in the league will wish him really well.
Absolutely.
And he's a pioneer for, talking about mental health in sport, one of many.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Fair play to him. Just tuned in, lads. Is this a new property show? Well, there's an idea. There is an idea, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like we're the guys to lead that pioneering effort.
And if we can get, some deal on some future property by giving someone free publicity, I'm all for that.
Yeah, we bring you that Mikey Drennan news, of course, as we are on Off the Ball, the official media partners of Sligo Rovers.
Rory McIlroy then is looking ahead to the US Open, which starts tomorrow. I know.
I love the way you have a scan through the Newsround. You're like, we'll get to the McIlroy story because we have to.
What's your next story?
No, it's fine.
What's literally your next story after Drennan? I will tweet a picture of this. What is your next story?
Well, it was going to be for Mana because the media ban.
Well,
Donegal.
We've started McIlroy, so we'll finish.
You're obsessed.
I know you're not a huge golf fan, Richie. This will actually be an outstanding US Open. Everything is set up to make this really good. The course is perfect. So McIlroy, who it turns out has been going here for the last few years, he first played it 5 years ago with Bill Clinton. That's just kind of how McIlroy lives now, and he likes going back. It's Long Island. It's a nice part of the world. It's the Hamptons kind of territory. So McIlroy's familiar with the course. You have some clips,
and he's apparently played 18 out of the last 19 days as well as he prepares for this week's US Open. He says he's walked the Shinnecock Hills course with a wedge and a putter to get a feel for how the greens are set up at the Long Island course. And McIlroy said today that he'll likely play conservatively off the tee this week.
It's just about making sure you put your ball in the right place off the tee, and then really just putting your ball into the right place in the greens. These greens are quite large, but they play a lot smaller than they actually are, just because of runoffs and the way they're designed. So, but I think I'll adopt quite a conservative strategy off the tee. As I said, the greens are, you're hitting into big targets, so you know, even if you're leaving yourself back and maybe hitting a couple of extra clubs into these greens, it's not such a bad thing. I'd rather be doing that than hacking my way out of the rough.
There we go. That's McIlroy. Sean's tweeted in to say, well, this has been a nice reminder that I'll never own property. Not depressing at all, lads, says Sean.
Same, by the way, so cheers.
It's if you
sit tight, it's coming.
If you want to enjoy country life, you have a great opportunity now to buy places very affordably and work. You know, a lot of people can work from home now. It's just, it's great if you want to live in the country.
And you can't.
You can't?
I don't want to live in the country.
No. There's a lot to be said for it, Richie.
I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
I want to buy a house somewhere decent.
You want to live near Dalymount?
Pretty much, yeah.
Joe, you're going to live near Dalymount.
Yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully, what's an acceptable?
That's why I bought
let's not get into that. What's an acceptable commute for you, Richie? 4 hours. Would you do a 4-hour commute?
No.
You see, that's the problem with your generation. Spoiled.
Snowflakes.
Absolutely spoiled.
My dad used to do that barefoot, apparently, from Kildalkey into Dublin City Centre.
Do you know what? If you didn't eat so much avocado, you might save the deposit.
There's my problem.
Gavin Riley says we can have a spin-off show, Johnny, called Off the Walls.
That was right up there with the stars. Mayo for Sam with the P, because the Pope's thing is going to cause fixture congestion. Mayo for Sam with the PSALM on the back of the star.
I didn't see that.
Brilliant, in fairness.
That's going to keep him going for hours. He loves a good pun.
Johnny in Kildare says, call the new property show Off the Plans.
Yeah.
Off the Walls is better.
Off the Walls is better.
Yeah, much better.
But it was good.
It rhymes with balls, you see. Balls. Whatever. I feel like I'm just gone.
What a show we've had.
Are you okay?
No, I'm sorry.
Nobody's any more enlightened about sport.
I'm going to get more back on track.
Are you okay?
What is the Fermanagh GA story then?
Go crack this one, yeah. Fermanagh denying that they banned Donegal media from the press event ahead of the Ulster football final. One local journalist claimed that he was told by a Fermanagh official that he wouldn't be allowed to attend the event if he was working for Donegal Press. He would only be allowed in there as in a national capacity. But in a brief statement this afternoon, Fermanagh said, we'd like to express that notice of yesterday's media event in Enniskillen was issued to the national and provincial newspapers, along with local newspapers, the Fermanagh Herald, an impartial reporter and broadcasters from UTV, BBC and RTE. At the event, all journalists and reporters present were given access to interviewing team management and players. At no time was anyone asked to leave the media event.
Can I make a very strange observation? The Impartial Reporter, which is a phenomenal name, is the oldest newspaper in Ireland.
Is that right?
There you are.
And are journalists tweeting, are there many journalists, Donegal journalists, saying we weren't allowed in?
They were saying that there was one in particular whose name escapes me at the moment, and I hope you'll forgive me for that, saying that he was asked about the event and he was told that unless you're there working for national press, you won't be allowed in. I think he was looking to go for the Donegal Daily News. I might be wrong on that fact, but it was a Donegal paper regardless. And he was told, no Donegal papers, the invite. And to be honest, that statement there says that the only newspapers they passed it on to were Fermanagh ones. There were local and regional ones there, but it doesn't mention Donegal specifically. So you presume that there is an element of truth to the fact that Donegal Press weren't necessarily invited with open arms to it.
Okay. It's not great.
Wasn't it very refreshing that Roscommon named their team like over a week before the game gets
Stay's been doing that for like a year.
Yeah, just no nonsense.
Yeah.
Just what is this? You know, cloak and daggers.
Does he name a dummy team McStay? Or
No. He's really open and honest. This is the starting 15, and it's very unusual that he changed it. I know for the Connacht final, I know last year there were a couple of changes, but by and large, he names it on the week before, and more or less that's the 15 that goes out there.
Yeah. Because people increasingly just won't buy a programme if not only is the team name late, but then they don't even get the team in
I read two match programmes recently in the League of Ireland where there were articles about the potential death of the match programme, which is quite sad because I have great fondness for them.
Would you buy a programme?
Yeah,
Here's a question. How much is too much for a programme?
Yeah, $5 max, like, and
max.
that would have to be like some
That'd
be a
really
real element to it.
Like they're definitely a bit too expensive. I think.
There's probably a bit too much. There's probably actually a bit too much copy in them at times, you know. But I got into journalism because I started writing for the Galway United match programme when I was 15 or 16, and I discovered that I liked it, and that's actually how I got into journalism.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And how much was the Galway match programme when you started?
50p, and it's now edited by myself, and it's €4.
Okay.
It's on the expensive side.
It is, yeah.
But Shane Crotty, the designer, does an unbelievable job. Morgan O'Brien, the artist for him. It's quite a beautiful production, I must say. I just edit the copy and send it to the lads.
Okay. Last story then, Katie Taylor.
She has announced her return to the ring. She is going to be fighting on the undercard of Dillian White and Joseph Parker's fight in London at the O2 Arena, specifically on the 28th of July. Her opponent is the American Kimberly Connor, 37-year-old, who is a veteran of 16 fights. She's won 13 of those, but last year lost to Taylor's most recent conquest, Victoria Noelia Bustos, as I say, July 28th for that Taylor fight.
Michael Higgins, we've got to wrap up the newsround.
Michael D. Higgins.
No.
Nice to have the president
Imagine
listening.
Michael D is sat at home listening right now. And
Michael D is a big Galway United fan.
He's probably read your programme.
Former guest of this show.
Absolutely.
Regular Daily Mount attendee, Joe.
Does he go Daily Mount?
He does.
Does he?
It's
Lives
local
nearby.
team.
Yeah.
Only down the road.
Good man. Well, Michael Higgins not the president.
Did you just say good man to the president?
Yeah.
We live in a democracy.
Good man.
Michael Higgins, I organised the piece where Michael Higgins on the George Hook show called Michael Graham a C. Did you ever hear that?
Is that in the archive? I might go out and listen to that this evening.
Yeah, he called Michael Graham a C. They were discussing Israel, I think, and it just
Charmer. A charmer is the word you're looking for there.
Anyway, look, last point before we go to Guillaume Balaga. Michael Higgins, not Michael D, replied to Gavin Riley's suggestion of a spin-off show called Off the Walls with, lads, first guest has to be Michael Brick Walsh. Oh, come on now.
Yeah.
Guillaume Balaga's next.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
Thanks to ScrewFix.ie. Championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
If you see the word Insta-famous on any fitness Instagrammer's blog, unfollow, because it's the wrong message. The con very much is the fact that what you